Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 53 of ASP.NET Core tutorial. In this video, we will discuss how to upload a file in ASP.NET Core MVC with an example. Here is what we want to do. On our create employee form, we want to include a field for photo using this file upload control. The user will be able to select a photo that he wants to upload onto the server. When this form is submitted, we want to store employee name, office email, department, and the photo path in the underlying employees table. But the photo itself should be uploaded onto the server into the images folder. If we take a look at our create view, where is the create view? If we take a look at our create view, at the moment, the model for this view is our employee class. But we are not going to use this employee class as the model. We are going to create a view model that is specific to this create view. We will understand the reason for that in just a bit. But first, to this view model, models folder, let's add a new class file. Name the file employee create view model. The properties in this class are going to be very similar to what we already have in our employee class. So let's copy over. And then change the bits that are required. At the moment, we don't need the ID property in our view model class. So let's get rid of that first. And then let's bring in the required namespace for these validation attributes. The namespace in which these validation attributes resides is system dot component model dot data annotations, while the DPTA enum is present in employee management dot models. So here is the important bit to understand. Let's change name of the property from photo path to just photo. And the data type of this is IFormFile. This type is in Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.HTTP namespace. Usually it is in that namespace. If you are wondering why did we set the data type of the photo property within our view model class to IFormFile, well, that is because the file that is uploaded to the server can be accessed through model binding using this interface IFormFile. As you can see, this IFormFile interface has got lots of useful properties like content type, headers, length, file name, and then a few other methods. We are not going to use all these properties and methods, just going to use the first name, just going to use the file name, not first name, just going to use the file name property, and then this CopyTo method. To copy the photo into the images folder on our web server. Now coming back to the question. Now, coming back to the question, why did we create a separate view model for our create view? Well, that is because to be able to access the uploaded file on the server through model binding, we need a property with this type IFormFile. At this point, you could argue, we could easily do that on this employee class as well. Just change the data type of this photo path property to IFormFile. Well, if we do that, we have to create a navigation property because IFormFile is a complex object. And creating a navigation property could complicate things further. On top of that, we don't want to store all this information about the uploaded file in the underlying database. We just want to store the name of the file and the underlying employee table. So to keep things simple and take this example quickly forward, we have set the data type of the photo path property to string on the employee model class, and this class corresponds to the employee table. And then on this view model class, and on this view model class for our create view, we have included photo property with the type IFormFile. So we could receive the uploaded file on the server and access it through model binding. At the moment, the model for our create view is still employee. Let's change this to our new type employee create view model. So change this employee to employee create view model. Let's change this to our new type employee create view model. We don't need this employee repository injected in our create view anymore. So let's delete that. And we also don't need this code right here. So let's delete this as well. Which code we do not need? We don't need this code here. Right here. So let's delete this. So let's delete this as well. At the moment, on our create employee form, so first of all, you need to do what? Build the solution first. And go to the browser. So at the moment, on our create employee form, we only have fields to capture employee name, office email, and department. We also need a field to be able to upload employee photo. It is going to be similar to one of these fields. So go back to the Visual Studio. So we also need a field to be able to upload employee photo. It is going to be similar to one of these fields. So let's copy the email field HTML and then change the bits that are required. The label here is for photo property. Within our view model. So let's change the property name here to photo. Even on the input element, Even on the input element, we want to change this from email to photo. We have changed it from email to photo. This placeholder is not required. To style this file upload control properly, in addition to form control, bootstrap CSS class, we also need custom file input. We are not performing any validation. So let's delete this span element. We need a label. We need a label, and for styling, let's use custom file label. Custom file label. Custom file label bootstrap class. We want the text choose file. We want the text choose file and the file upload control. And the file upload control. Again, for proper styling, let's wrap the input element and the label within div element. Again, for proper styling, let's wrap the input element and label within div element, and then use the bootstrap class custom file. And then use the bootstrap class custom file. To support file upload, let's use the bootstrap class custom file to support file upload using this form. We have to set the form element encrypt using this form. We have to set the form element and Enctype. Enctype attribute. We need to set the form element Enctype attribute to multipart / form data. To multipart. /form data. At this point, let's save our changes. At this point, let's save our changes and take a look at the browser. So before go to browser, build the solution first. So now go to the browser and take a look. Notice we have the file upload control as expected, but it is not look as we expected. It does not look like what we expected. Why is this awkward? Choose file options. We need a browse button and a placeholder. Choose a file. So actually what has happened, we have used Bootstrap 4 class, Bootstrap 4 classes. Actually we have to use Bootstrap 5 classes. Why? Because we are using Bootstrap 5 in our whole project. So for saving, now I will copy and paste the coding of Bootstrap class 5 so that we can save our time. So go to the notepad and here is the Bootstrap class. So Bootstrap 5 class, copy this and paste it here. In place of this Bootstrap class 4. Let me tell you something about the differences between Bootstrap 5 versus Bootstrap 4. The issue is with the way the file input is being rendered. So, as you can see here in Bootstrap class 4, input ASP for photo, here is why the browser button is not appearing. Bootstrap 5 versus Bootstrap 4 differences. In Bootstrap 4, custom file input and custom file label. Custom file input and custom file label. Were used together style file inputs. Were used together to style file inputs. Here we have to specify custom file input and custom file label is here. So in Bootstrap 4, custom file input and custom file label were used together to style file inputs. In Bootstrap 5, these classes are removed. Instead, you just use the standard.form control. Standard.form control with type file. So if your project is using Bootstrap 5, which Visual Studio templates now do by default, the custom file input would not render correctly, and you will see only the label without the actual file picker. Missing type file attribute. The ASP for photo tag helper generate the input element, but you need to explicitly set type is equal to file for file upload. Without it, the browser would not render the file picker. So now update this code with Bootstrap 5. The type file ensures the browser button appears. Class form control works with Bootstrap. Class form control works with Bootstrap 5 styling. You don't need custom file input class and custom file label class unless you are explicitly using Bootstrap 4. If you want to hold Bootstrap 4 style with custom file input and custom file label, you need to include Bootstrap 4 CSS instead of Bootstrap 5. But we are using in our project Bootstrap 5. But the recommended approach is to stick with Bootstrap 5 and use this simplified form control file input. Custom style file input with visible browser button, Bootstrap 5. If you want, for including Bootstrap 5 and JavaScript, custom style file input with visible browse button, Bootstrap 5. If you want consistent custom style file input with a visible browse button that works well across browser, here is an example using Bootstrap 5 and JavaScript. Though we have used only here Bootstrap 5 class, we have not specified JavaScript here right now. So if we again build the solution and go back to the browser and see the change, well, the Bootstrap 5, look at that. Using Bootstrap 5, the browse button appeared. Now let me specify JavaScript. So go to the notepad, and here is the JavaScript, and copy this and paste it below the Bootstrap 5 class. We also need to use script section. So copy this and paste it here. Okay. How it works? How it works? The actual file input is hidden behind these scenes. The actual file input is hidden behind these scenes but still accessible. The browse button is a separate bootstrap button that triggers the file input click. When a file is selected, the file name is displayed next to the button. This approach gives you a clear styled browse button and a text area showing the selected file name, consistent across browser. Now, what is this JavaScript? Now, what is that JavaScript? That JavaScript snippet is handling the custom file upload interaction in your form. So what is the file input? File input refers to the hidden input type file element. And what is file name input? Refer to the read-only text box that displays the chosen file name. Upload button. Refer to the browse button that the user clicks. Simulating file section. Simulating file section, upload button dot add event listeners. When the user clicks the browse button, the script programmatically triggers a click on the hidden file input. This opens the system file picker dialog. Even though the actual file input is hidden, displaying the selected file name. Displaying the selected file name. Displaying the selected file name. The change event fires when the user selects a file. If a file is chosen, the script retrieves its name. File input dot files brackets 0.name and display it in the text box. File name input. If no file is selected, example the user cancel the dialog, the text box is cleared. Why this matter? Normally a file input shows that the selected file name itself, but it does not look very customizable. This code hides the default file input and replaces it with a styled text box showing the file name, a custom browse button that triggers the file picker. This gives you more control over the user interface while still keeping the functionality intact. So once again, build the solution because we have added the JavaScript. And here you can see the file upload control as expected. So in the Bootstrap class 4, class, that we have showed you earlier. So in that Bootstrap 4 class, one question you might have at that point is, nowhere in the HTML we had specified that we want an input element whose type is file. When we set the input element type to file, then we get the file upload control. Here in the Bootstrap 4, Bootstrap 4 class, we had not specified that. We want that an input employee whose type is file. But how did we get that file upload element in Bootstrap 4 class? Well, that is because on the input element we have set ASP- for tag helper in Bootstrap 4 class. Input -4 -for tag helper to the photo property. And if you look at the photo property, its data type is IFormFile. So as ASP.NET Core knows, if the data type of the property to which we are binding is IFormFile, then it has to provide us with file upload control. And that is how we got this file upload control in Bootstrap 4 class. While in Bootstrap 5 class, we have specified everything, as you can see here. Type file, okay. Form control, ID, file name, placeholder, all that. Now, if we inspect the page source, so go to the browser, view page source, input class. Where is the input class? Input class, form control. This is for email and this is for, yeah. Input class, here is the type file for the Bootstrap 5 class. ID custom file. Name photo. This is for Bootstrap 5 class. Notice the input element type is set to input type. Notice the input type is set to file. At the moment, we have no issue with the file upload control. So there is no issue with the file upload control. So select a file, where is the file to be selected? From here, let's select a file. Open it. There is no issue. We see the file we have just selected. Okay. No issue. Because we have written couple of lines of custom jQuery code already. So here it is appeared david.jpg. We have selected this photo. Okay. As you can see in the JavaScript. In this script element. Okay. If you are new to jQuery, I suggest please check out our jQuery course. It starts from the basics and covers all the concept you need. In the interest of time, I am going to nothing we have to do here right now. Because in Bootstrap 4 class, we have to use jQuery class selector. Where we are going to select our file upload control, because that is the input element that has the class custom file input in the Bootstrap 4 class. So we are not going to discuss the Bootstrap 4 class anymore. Okay. Let's save these changes and take a look at the browser. We don't need any save anything here because we have done everything in our code. We have JavaScript and Bootstrap 5 class. Now when we submit this form by clicking the create button, now when we click this, when we submit this form by clicking this clicking the create button within our home controller, where is the home controller? Within our home controller, this is the create action method that handles the posted form. Now if we take a look at our create view, notice the model for this view is employee create view model. So copy this, So copy this model, and within our home controller, for this create method, let's change the parameter type to employee create view model, and let's name the parameter model. Let's name the parameter model object. Let's name this parameter model. If the model state is valid, the first thing that I am going to do here is create a variable of type string. If the model state is valid, the first thing that I am going to do here is create a variable of type string. Let's call it unique file name. Let's call this unique file name. And then initialize this to null. On the incoming model object, whose type is employee create view model, on the incoming model object whose type is employee create view model, we have a property photo. We have a property photo, and this property receives the uploaded file. So we want to check if the photo property So we want to check if the photo property on the model object is not null. That means the user has selected a file to upload, and we want to upload that file to the image folder. In www root folder. To get the physical path of this www root folder, we are going to use iHosting environment service. But the iHosting environment service is obsolete now. So we have to use iWeb host service. iWeb environment. We are going to use iWeb environment service provided by ASP.NET Core. So let's inject iHosting environment, iWeb host environment, iWeb host environment, using into the home controller using its constructor. So inject the iWeb host environment. So let's bring in the required namespace using Microsoft.ASP, not net core hosting. It is already there. And name the parameter host environment. And name the parameter host environment. And let's use Visual Studio to generate the private field. So how to generate the private field? Control public. Control public. On this iHost environment service, we have on this iWeb host environment, on this host environment, iWeb host environment service, we have on this host environment copy this. We have the on this service we have web root path property. Okay, this provides us the absolute physical path of this www root folder. Remember, we want to upload the file to the image folder. So to get the images folder, we want to combine the path string of this www root folder with this image folder. For that, let's use the path class. So let's use the path class. This path class is present in system.input-output namespace. And then use combine. And then use combine. And then use combine method to combine the path string of www root folder with these string images to get to the images folder. Look at the intelligence. Notice from the intelligence, the combined method returns the path to the image folder as a string. Path to the, look at the, notice from the intelligence, the combined method returns the path to the image folder as a string. So let's store it in a variable of type string. Let's store it in a variable of type string. I'm going to name this variable uploads folder. We want the file name in the images folder. We want file in the images folder to be unique. We want the file name in the images folder to be unique. If we upload two files with the same name, one file may override the other. We don't want that to happen. To ensure we have unique file name, I'm going to use GUID class. I'm going to use GUID class. GUID stands for Global Unique Identifiers. Every time we call this new GUID method, it returns a new GUID, which is guaranteed to be unique. Let's convert this to a string. Let's convert this to a string. To this, let's append an underscore. To this, let's append an underscore. And to that, we want to append the uploaded file name. To get to the uploaded file name, we use the incoming model object. Incoming model object, on that we have photo property. And on that we have file name property. Let's store this unique name in this variable. Let's store this. Let's store this. Unique name in this variable. At this point, we have the path to the uploaded folder and the file name itself. Dot to string. It should be underscore. Why it is showing red squiggly? Grid dot new grid. Okay. Model dot photo. And why this showing error? Grid dot represent a globally unique identifier cannot be applied to operands of type method group and string. New GUID method. Okay. So what has happened to it? So for saving time, I copy paste that from the notepad. Okay. Did you see the difference? Okay. To string, we have to use this also. Okay, fine. Okay. At this point, we have the path to the upload folder and the file name itself. Let's combine them together using photo.combine. Using path.combine. Let's store this path, combine path, in a variable of type string. I'm going to call this variable file path. Now to copy the uploaded file to the image folder, we are going to use this CopyTo method. We are going to use this CopyTo method provided by this IForm provided by this IForm file interface. Remember the photo property Remember the photo property on our model object is of type IFormFile, and this property receives the uploaded file. This means on our model object on this photo property we can use this copy to method. We can use this copy to method to copy the uploaded file to the images folder. Notice on the incoming model, object, we have photo property. And on this photo property we have copy to method. Copy to method. We need a new file stream. We need a new file stream. To copy the content of the uploaded file. So let's create a new file stream, and the file stream itself needs the path to the file. And we have the path to the file in the variable in this variable. So let's pass this variable to the file stream constructor, and then we want this file to be created on the server. And then we want this file to be created on the server. So let's set the file mode. To create. At this point, we have the uploaded employee photo copied into the images folder on our server. Now we need to create a new employee object. Now we need to create a new employee object, and then copy the employee related properties from the incoming model object into this new employee object. Now we need to create a new employee object and then copy the employee related properties from the incoming model object into this new employee object. Name equals model.name. Emails equals model.email. Department equals department.model.department. And finally, photo path equals we have the photo path present in this variable unique file name. We have the photo path present in this variable unique file name. At this point, we want to save this new employee object in the underlying employee database table. At this point, we want to save this new employee object in the underlying employee database table. For that, we are going to use this injected iEmployee repository. For that, we are going to use this injected iEmployee repository. On the repository, we have add method. To that, let's pass the employee object. After the employee is successfully saved to the database table, we want to redirect the user to the details action. So we could see the details of that newly added employee. So let's uncomment this line. So let's uncomment this line. Remember, after entity framework, insert a new row for this new employee. For this new employee object, in the underlying employee table, it takes the ID column generated. Let's take the ID column generated. Identity value and automatically update the ID and automatically update the ID property on our employee object. We are then passing that ID value. We are then passing that ID value to the details action. So we could see the detail of that newly added employee. Let's fill up the details of the new employee. But before that, I want to say something that we will not be able to have the GUID number image. So we have to make some changes here. So I go to my notepad and copy this piece of code, and I'll explain it and paste it here. So as you can see, everything is same, but we only add these line directory dot create directory upload file ensure folder exists, and then we also use this debug log to confirm actual save path console.writeLine saving file to the file path, and using variable file name, file path, and file mode dot create model photo dot copy file name file stream. Okay, this is the change we have to do it. Now let's fill up the detail of the new employee that we want to add. So first of all, what we need to do, we need to again build the solution and go to the browser. Let's fill up the detail of the new employee that we want to add. So we want to add David, email David, and department is going to be IT. Now select the image of the David. So here is the David image. Select it. And then click the create button. So click the create button. There we go. Our new employee is created. Our new employee is created. And we are redirected to the details. And we are redirected to the details view. And we see the detail of the new employee that we have just created. And we see the detail of the new employee. Here is the detail of the new employee that we have just created. But we still see old image. We don't see the image that we have uploaded. First, let's open the image folder in File Explorer. Open the image folder in the File Explorer. Notice we have the image that we have just uploaded. We see a GUID underscore means underscore GUIDs underscore and then the name of the file david.jpg. But this detail view does not display the uploaded image. But this detail view does not display that uploaded image. That is because we have hard-coded the image source. That is because we have hard-coded the image source element to always display no image.jpg. So let's change the code in our detail view. So go to the detail view. Where is the detail view? Here it is. So let's change the code in our detail view. Let's go to the view folder and open details view. Notice the source attribute of our image element is hard-coded to no image JPG. We want to dynamically set the source attribute. For that, I'm going to create a variable. Let's name the variable photo path. Let's name the variable photo path. All our employees' photos are in the image folders. All our employees' photos are in the images folder, and images folder is in www root folder. To get to the root folder, we use tilde. In that we have our images. In that we have our images folder. To that we want to append the name of the image. To that we want to append the name of the image. To get the name of the image, we can use the model object. To get to the model object, we use @model. On that we have employee property. On that we have employee property. And on the employee property we have photo path. What if an employee does not have this photo path property set? If we look at the existing data, if we look at the existing data, notice for the two existing employees, Mary and John, the photo path property is null. It is only set for the new employee David, that we have just created. So if the photo path property is null, So if the photo property is null, we want to display no image.jpg. We want to display no image dot jpg. Sorry, no image dot jpg. This expression in the bracket, this expression in the bracket is evaluated first. If the photo path property is not null, then that value is used. If the photo property is not null, then that value is used. If it is null, then no image .jpg is used. So instead of hard coding the source attribute always to no image.jpg, let's use the value that we have in this variable photo path. That variable that we have in this variable photo path. We have the same issue in our index view. We have the same issue within our index view. Notice even here, source attribute is hard coded to no image JPG. The change is going to be very similar to what we already have in our detailed view. So let's make a copy of this line. So let's make the copy of this line. Paste it and then change the bits that are required. The model for this view is IEnumerable. The model for this view is IEnumerable of employee object. We are using the for each loop here. Through each employee object we have in the model. To check the photo path property of each employee object, we want to use this loop variable employee. We want to use this variable employee. Finally, let's use this variable photo path as the value for the source attribute. Finally, use this variable path as the value for the source attribute. Notice now when I reload the page, we don't see any image. First of all, what we need to do, build the solution and go to the browser. Notice when I reload the page, we don't see any image to get this working. So it is taking time. The solution is not built yet now. So notice now when I reload the page, we don't see any image. To get this working, use ASP-append version attribute on the image element on our detail views. So go to the detail view. Go to the detail view and use ASP-append version attribute on the image element on our detail views. Notice now when we reload the page, so need to build once again the solution and go to the browser. Notice now when we reload the page, we see the image as expected. Yeah, the image is uploaded now. David image is perfectly uploaded now. We are using this image tag helper here, which provides cache busting service. If you are new to image tag helper, please check out part 34 of our ASP.NET Core tutorial. Now when we navigate to the list view, so this is the David, as you can see. Its detail is David. Okay. So now when we navigate to list, you notice the images have different heights and width. To set all these images to the same height and width, I am going to include a custom CSS class. So let's open our site.css file. Our site.css file is in the CSS folder. So go back to the Visual Studio. Open the site folder. So I'm going to name the CSS class image dot image. Image thumbnail. Image thumbnail. Set height to 200 pixel. Width, set height to 200 pixel, width to auto. Now let's use this. Now let's use the CSS class on the image element in our index view. In our index view. Where is the index view? Here it is. Now hard reload the page by pressing Ctrl Shift R. But we use build our solution and then go back to the browser. So there is no changes till now, but it will appear soon, sooner. At this point, let's create another new employee. At this point, let's create another new employee, fill the detail of the new employee. This time Sarah. Email Sarah and Sarah HR, department HR, and browse the photo of Sarah. Where is the Sarah? This is the Sarah. Click create. There we go. We have our new employee created. We see all the employee details. We see all the employees' detail. Including the photo that we have uploaded. Now let's navigate to list view. Now navigate to list view. Notice all the 4 employees are in this one row. If we add another new employee, that employee will also be placed in this one row, further squeezing these thumbnail. So let's add one more employee. This time we use Lucy. Lucy department, payroll. No, Lucy department should be HR. Now select the page. Where is the Lucy? Lucy is here. Open. Click create. So our new employee added now, created now. We see all the employee details. Okay. Including the photo that we have uploaded. Now let's navigate to the list view. Notice all the 5 employees are in this one row. If we add another new employee, that employees will also be placed in this one row, further squeezing these thumbnails. What we want to do is include a maximum of 4 thumbnails in a given row. There are several ways to do this. In the interest of time, I am going to the quickest and the easiest easiest approach on this bootstrap card div. I'm going to include this custom style. So go to the index file, index.chtml, and on the div class, I'm going to include this custom style. Custom style. I'm setting the minimum width. Minimum width to 18 RAM. To 18 RAM. And maximum width to 35.5%. 30.5%. Let's save our changes. So again, build the solution. And go back to the browser and save our changes and take one final look at the browser. Notice now when we reload the page, we see a maximum of 4 thumbnails per row. 4 thumbnails per row. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We see a maximum of 4 thumbnails per row. Now let's create another new employee. Now let's create another new employee. But before that, we need to see we have to put this class from here to there. Okay, and once again build the solution and go back to the look at that. The images are now in the what happened to it? Okay, the image width is and height is not same. David is, I use this again. And save it. Okay, let's This time I'm not going to select any image. So go to the create and select create new employee. I'm going to select ban. Ban email is and ban ID is HR. So I'm not going to select any image for this employee. Let's create. Let's click create. So ban is created and it is using the default no image. And it is using the default no image because we have not selected any image for the ban. If we navigate to the list view, if we navigate to list view, it is using we see our new employee here, and even on the list view it is using image no image dot jpg. Okay, this class is not working, but it will work after some time. If we close our application and reopen it, then all images will be in the same width and height. Now if we refresh the data that we have in our employee table, refresh the data in our employee table. In our notice we see all the employees. Notice we see all the employees. Both David and Sarah have a photo. Even Lucy have a photo, but ban without uploading a photo. So the photo path property for ban is null. While Lucy, Sarah and David have a photo. That's it in this video. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Okay, we have done now.